This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to an extremely drizzly, wet and overcast day here in Djuma Game Reserve. Sadly, since we were doing our checks, the rain is getting a lot heavier. We're probably going to need to throw all of our rain covers on in just a moment, but we shall still bumble and we shall still see what we can find out here for you in the low veld. I am sure there will be rain across many locations, but that's okay. Rain is exactly what is needed out here. So everyone, get ready. It's that time of day for your live safari through the African bush. Welcome aboard, everyone. Pleasure to have you here on this rainy day. I wish it wasn't raining, because that means everything's going to get wet. But anyway, we shall head out anyway. My name is Lauren. I do have Impo on camera this morning, and we're going to head straight to the hyena den, of course, once we throw some rain covers on and see what else we can see. Now, I know that Tandy and Cub, we don't need to say Cub anymore, I guess. We can say Maribs were on Chitwa last night. So unfortunately, we couldn't go because we did not have any IR, but we shall try and scratch around there this morning if the weather will allow. So everyone, you must talk to us. That's the whole point in doing a live safari and not a post-produced documentary. You're with us right here, right now, and you can interact with us. How do you do that? You use the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter. You can use the @FC on the YouTube chat. Also, you can register on the WildEarth website. Head over to the live safari page and you can put your questions there. But if you're under 18, we really want to hear from you. And you just ask your questions in a slightly different way. And that way is email kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. There's a huge way that you can talk to us. Okay, and today is Friday. We're going to bumble and pull. So that means that the naming of little Junebug is going to happen this afternoon on the Sunset Safari. But I don't think the sun is going to come up, so I don't think it's actually going to set. No, of course it's up, we just can't see it. But on the Sunset Safari, we will be taking all the poll results and choosing the name for little Junebug, which is very sweet. So you already know that it's raining here in Djuma, but let's go across and take a look at the weather for all the locations.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another wet and rainy morning here in Djuma, where the cyclone has arrived. Hello, everybody. My name's Steve, joined by Darius on camera, and we're very excited to have you with us, of course. And we are listening to some lions calling on our western boundary, so we're going to see if we can figure out who they might be. It's definitely not the Telematis. Definitely not the Telematis. There's some tracks heading along this road of what looks like a male, or it could be a small pride. We kind of predicted this area when we heard the lion calling. Oh, but this is the worst kind of rain, everybody. This rain, it just comes straight into my eyes from the front. Really not pleasant. Okay, let's just follow up on this road. Looks like possibly a male. It's not very clear. Oh no, it's going that way. Oh, I'm not really sure, Sandra. I haven't seen a a young coalition since the Evokers, but apparently there were 4 males or so that came in from the north a while ago. I wasn't around. I don't know how far they came down. Were you here, Davy, for that?
No, I wasn't.
I heard about them. Oh my goodness, this is very unpleasant. If the rain continues and we get too wet, everybody, unfortunately we're going to go home because we can't really afford to get gear too wet. Just giving you all a heads up there. And this kind of weather is exactly that kind of equipment breaking weather. Okay, well, Tswalu Kalahari had a few days of rain, but I think the sun is out again once on their side.
Good morning, and isn't that a beautiful sunrise? You're at Tswalu with panning around with me, Deirdre, and Morgan on camera. So our plan is to just bumble around in the dunes. With the rain last night, there wouldn't have been too many tracks left from the animals, so we'll see what's fresh and go from there. But those colours are just amazing. Claire's comment is hoping to see some Kalahari lions again. We certainly can try. There's pretty much a slight little breeze. It's only 21 degrees and 69 Fahrenheit this morning. So we're definitely starting to feel winter approaching. I was just saying to Morgan earlier, it's amazing in the last week and a half how the sun has shifted to only rising about 15 minutes later. So a week ago we were coming out at sunrise, and now we coming out and getting the sunrise. It's shifting slowly to winter. That going into the end of February, beginning of March, a lot of the migrant birds will start thinking about leaving, and it's that temperature change, the length of day and night that starts to change, and that'll be their cue to start heading back, well, north, I suppose. If we're in Southern Africa, they're all heading north. Wow, those colours are just getting more intense. Darcy Ann's comment is that Tswalu always looks like a painting at sunrise. Yep, try capture those colours if you're a painter yourself. It's always challenging. So it sounds like Ngala's got some zebra to show you.
Good morning and welcome to andBeyond Ngala. Deirdre is absolutely right. I'm sitting with a beautiful little dazzle of zebras and two wildebeest, a mum and calf. And it is such a stunning morning here. There's a very light drizzle, so everybody's nice and cool and looking very relaxed this morning while they feed in this beautiful green area with the long grass. My name is Tessa. I'm going to be your guide this morning here at andBeyond Ngala. Behind the camera we have Owen. There we go. And we are really, really excited to try and find the Birmingham Pride today, and hopefully the white male is with him. But in the meantime, we have bumped into this beautiful dazzle, and actually we were here looking for the lions because there are tracks of them on this road. And I think with these zebras being so relaxed that the lions are probably not here. There you can see the calf. It was hiding behind the zebras. So this little calf, it's actually quite unusual for mom and calf to be away from the rest of the herd of wildebeest, the implausibility. But possibly they just got separated. And so now they're with the zebras for safety. This little one was probably born in around November, December. So it's still just a few months old and it's just started changing color. You can see right on the top, just below that mane, it's still that sandy brown color, and on the head. And it's just started with its horns. How cute. And it's just in that really cute phase where it's starting to change color towards that silver gunmetal gray color of the mum. Oh, and look at the tail. The tail still has some light patches on it too. Definitely a good idea to stay very close to mom when you're that young and there have been lions around. But you can see everybody is nice and relaxed and feeding. And I wouldn't be surprised if we find some more wildebeest just around the corner. There's actually something that I noticed about that very white zebra right in the middle. It's got slightly different coloration to the other zebras. Not only is it a bit more white with less prominent black stripes, but have a look at its mane there as it's walking. Oh, and now it put its head down again. There we go. Its mane has actually got red in it, right at the top where the others have the black. This one has got quite a bit of ginger and red in it, especially in this morning light. And that's quite unusual. Usually only the calves, or the foals, sorry, the young ones have that reddish color as they're changing over. So for an adult to have that red is quite different. It's quite beautiful, actually. And they're in absolutely excellent condition. One of the things that I love about a zebra is as they shake their heads like that, the mane still stays upright, but it gets that wave in it as it's starting to move side to side. And this one has a particularly long, glorious looking mane. You can see that mane is standing nice and straight. If this zebra was in bad condition, the mane would be the first thing to show it, because that mane would be flopping over to the side instead of standing up straight. And you can see those stripes carry on all the way up to the top of the mane. And it is very important that when they are moving around, then they would have that mane to protect the back of the neck. Glenn, zebras will keep their coats clean by grooming each other, but also by sometimes standing in the rain. If there is a nice light rain, they'll stand in the rain to clean the coats. And actually to keep it protected, they might even dust bath, which seems like it might make it more dirty. But actually it keeps the coat in really good condition. If they can dust bath themselves in a sandy patch, it keeps the parasites out and it keeps the coat nice and compacted against the body. Most of the time though, you'll find that they would groom each other. So these two have particularly striking dark stripes, especially on the base of the neck as it's getting to the shoulder, and you can really nicely see the triangular patch on both of their shoulders at the moment, where the stripes from the neck meets the stripes from the back, meets the stripes from the legs. And that triangular patch is incredibly important in zebras because it's one of the ways that they will identify each other from a distance. If they can't smell each other, they can have a look at that triangle on the shoulder and tell each other apart. But I actually wouldn't be surprised if these two zebras are related, maybe from mother and a previous foal, because their stripes are quite similar on the neck. You can hear some oxpeckers coming in. Quite a lot of birds calling this morning because it is nice and cool. So I think I'm actually going to leave these zebras and wildebeest to their beautiful feeding this morning, nice and relaxed. And I'm going to head on and see if I can find you the Birmingham Pride.
Do you dream of traveling to a far-flung wilderness location where life continues as normal? A place where you can escape to nature and breathe. If you become a WildEarth explorer, then this could soon become a reality. Subscribe today and stand a chance to win regular travel prizes. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
Being a safari driver requires some serious multitasking ability. You've got to be able to talk, look at the road, steer, and occasionally get the vehicle into the right gear.
Do not crash into any trees. Oh, not so dozy.
Just jump into the car and hope for the best, and you'll see where it takes you. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm surprised they're moving as fast as that didn't go well.
Who is the best driver? Well, me, of course, although some of the cam ops might disagree.
Hi, my name is Tristan Dix, and I am a guide here at Djuma Private Game Reserve for WildEarth. We love connecting you to the African bush, and we always look forward to all of your questions. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, you'll need to register on the website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit a question below the live feed. Catch up with me on WildEarth.
The croc is still holding another one there. It's holding from the hindquarters. I would really want. The wildebeest cross is trying. The croc is holding the tail. It's holding tight. Oh no. Goodness me. Lucky, lucky wildebeest. You have another day to live.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
What makes andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve so special is our massive array of habitats. And with that comes, of course, a beautiful diversity of landscapes, but also an incredible biodiversity in terms of plants, bird life and animal life, as well as, of course, our conservation success stories with cheetah, with rhinos, now with pangolins too.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
Good morning from andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve, where we've managed to find a massive herd of zebra with a couple of wildebeest interspersed. And once again, taking advantage of some lovely, lush, thick grass, courtesy of all the rain we've had. Look at all those tails swishing. Of course, summertime doesn't just mean plenty of food, also means plenty of insects, plenty of... And the tails of these zebras and wildebeests being kept very busy. Lots of little babies in amongst the herd there, little baby wildebeests, little baby zebras. All no doubt taking advantage of the plentiful, well, the plentiful milk coming from the plentiful food. It's a lovely morning here at andBeyond Phinda. A little bit overcast. There's some big, scary-looking clouds around. Apparently a lot of rain forecast for this weekend. My name's Damon, and behind the camera this morning we've got Simon. And we've come out into a different part of the reserve today in hope of finding some signal where we can actually show you guys some animals. So we've started obviously with the zebra and the wildebeest. And actually while we're sitting here, Simon and I heard some monkeys alarm calling to our south. So we're going to, I think, spend a bit more time with these zebra and these wildebeest, and then I think we're going to head down in the direction of where those monkeys are alarm calling to see what it is that they've found. I don't know if you can see there, I'm just going to get out the shot, but in front of us there are some zebra that are staring down into the valley, and they're looking directly at where those monkeys are alarm calling from. So obviously when we are out searching for predators like lions, leopard, cheetah, we obviously pay very close attention to animals like monkeys, because as most of you will know, if they do see a predator, they'll start to make that alarm call, the kind of chattering, clacking sound. And these zebra will know that too. So they've heard the monkeys alarm calling, so they are investigating, looking to see if they can see what it is that's causing those monkeys to alarm call. Because of course to them it could be something dangerous. It could be a pride of lions approaching, or even some cheetah, a coalition of male cheetah. This part of the reserve, we know it's the overlapping point of two different coalitions of male cheetah, and two big male cheetah will definitely not hesitate to try and take down a little zebra foal. It's nice and cool. It's early in the morning. We'll be moving around. Tyler, you're asking what zebras use their manes for. Tyler, and I've actually done a bit of looking into this, and I'm very sorry, Tyler, but I haven't been able to find a reason as to why they have or what they use it for per se. It is an indication of health, though, of a zebra's health. So because they are not ruminating animals, they are hind-gut fermenters, which basically just means that when they digest their food, all the grass they eat sits in their cecum, and it ferments and it causes obviously lots of gas, and so their bodies bloat. Their bodies always look fat. So they're kind of, how bloated or how fat they are is not actually an indication of how healthy they are, because even a zebra that's pretty badly nourished will still appear to be fat. But that mane is being held up by little fat deposits. And so if those fat deposits wear out, obviously an indication of an animal that's in poor health, that mane will flop down. And that then indicates that the zebra is poorly nourished or in poor health. But other than that, I haven't been able to find any other information as to why a zebra has a mane. It is certainly very pretty though. Those monkeys are still alarm calling, but they are quite a way down into the valley. And I think that most of these zebra have decided that it's obviously nothing to be overly concerned about just yet. That one though keeps going back to look and see if it can see what's going on. Alright, Simon and I are going to leave these zebra and these wildebeest now. We're going to go see if we can find what's causing these monkeys to alarm call. Apparently Deirdre at Tswalu has some tracks to show you, so let's go and have a look.
So we do indeed have some tracks for you. So the advantage of having rain is that it washes a clean slate, and we start with new information. So last night, this would be a little porcupine that's come out the bushes here and then trundled off down the road. But courtesy of another porcupine, he's given me a nice little pointer. Are we probably these ones, Morgan? Okay. So you can see 1 foot, 1 foot, 1 foot, 1 foot. Very short little legs, so porcupine tend to shuffle and they have their feet very close together. But then we are looking at this. We're looking here, and I'll show you 1, 2, 3. You can see there's 3 little pads, and the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 toes. So we're actually looking at the left foot here, the left hind foot, and there you're actually seeing the deep impressions of the claws. I mean, if we just go back a little bit and then just show you this one, just look at the length of the claws when it goes through slightly thicker sand, how those claws go. So the porcupine uses their claws quite a lot for digging, and mostly on their front feet their claws are pretty long, or actually they're not long, they're short stubby claws, but they're quite strong. So somebody was asking about showing you a Kalahari black maned lion this morning. So they're quite far away, but I can show you what a Kalahari black maned lion, what happens when he eats the porcupine. So we're going to come across here. This was a while ago. The Kalahari black maned lions originally, when they first moved around the Kalahari, it's quite thick, and they were going for easy prey. So a porcupine is easy for a lion because they're slow to catch, not easy to deal with. But what you're actually looking at there is the droppings of the lion. How he ate that porcupine and managed to have it come out the other end like that, I have no idea. But what I do want to show you is we've just spoken about the claws or the nails of the porcupine, and I'm going to point out this one. It's probably a little bit gruesome, but this is what's left of the foot pad, and that's actually a claw of a porcupine. So this lion, it looks, by the size of the quills and stuff here, it looked like probably a relatively small porcupine, but he ate it all. Yeah. I can't imagine what all of you are imagining now, but most of us are going, how did that pass through his system? I have no idea, but it certainly is a lab specimen. Justin is asking the question, are porcupines only nocturnal? So yes, they forage at night, they are nocturnal, but sometimes in the winter season in their burrows, they'll come out and lie, enjoying the sun a little bit, so you might surprise a porcupine at a burrow in the winter during the day, but otherwise they focus most of their activity moving around at night. It is cooler, their eyesight is fine, and they move around at night looking for bulbs and roots and tubers. So that's what this porcupine has done. He's come out the bushes and he's gone all the way down. They're looking for those Bushman's poison bulbs, any of the like sort of wild potato type of things. That's what roots and tubers is what a porcupine really does like to eat. And I wouldn't say it's the #1 snack choice for a lion, but lions like to eat porcupines. So we wouldn't expect to find this porcupine this morning. You could follow the tracks if you were really good, because it can get quite challenging with something that's that small to follow it over this type of vegetation. So it would move at night and then go to its burrow. So if you were successful at tracking it, you could actually find where it lives. We've been hearing the button quail. He goes, that's him calling there. A very eerie sort of. So a very pretty little quail, very different in well, it's got beautiful little feathers. It's quite small in size. And you hardly even know that they exist on the reserve until it comes to breeding season and they start calling like this. Then you realize how many there are and how well they've been hidden in this vegetation. Kelsey is asking the question, do birds fly in rainy weather? Not by choice. sometimes, as soon as it starts raining, they're going to try and find some form of shelter, because they've only got a thin layer of oil on their skin, on their feathers, so that helps repel some of the moisture. I think it's just on top of the little bush there might be a shrike, but you see him there on the camel thorn, but I'm not 100% sure. We'll go in there. There is a bird there, but yeah, the water makes their feathers wet and then heavy, so that makes it quite difficult to fly. So they tend to prefer not to, and will find some kind of shelter. So what you're looking at there looks like a fiscal shrike or a broo. He's quite far away. I need to actually look at him with binoculars. Might be a broo, which don't normally sit on top of the trees. A broo normally... So I'm going to just get my binoculars out so I can get a closer look. Shrike-like, for sure. Shrike-like beak. It's just a bit of an odd angle that it's sitting at. Let me see if I can... oh, there we go. It's turned sideways now. It's a little bit easier. Looks like a lesser grey shrike. Little bit of a grey head, white eyebrow stripe, and then a hooked beak. And that beak... The shrikes are known to have larders. They'll go and grab an insect or a mouse or something, and then use a thorn tree. They'll spike their prey on the thorn tree, and that'll help hold it down, and then eat it from there. And if they want to go and get something else, that's like their little larder or their store, and they'll come back at a later stage. Matthew is asking the question, what animals are most active in the rain? Now I've got to think about that one for a little bit. I have seen predators move in the rain. Maybe it's to move from one place to another to get to better shelter. I've seen lions hunting in the rain because it was just a situation where they'd seen an opportunity. But most animals will try and find some kind of a shelter. They don't enjoy that. By moving when you're getting wet is also not really helping mammals with their thermoregulation, so they'd rather just sit and wait it out. And then, I do remember a sighting with the male leopard. He was getting rained on and his ears were flat, and he had this expression on his face that he was absolutely miserable. And then the rain stopped. We had a rainbow, we had the sun come out, and he just shook all those water droplets off his head, and he started grooming all the water off, and he was turning into a much happier cat. His ears perked up, and then the next cloud came over and wet him all over again, and those ears just flopped. That expression on his face was like, oh, not again. So they don't really enjoy it, getting too wet. But then sometimes when the rain has stopped, that's when you have lions just running around, chasing each other, playing like puppies. They just have an absolute blast after the rain. So it does give quite a lot of animals renewed energy. And if you talk animals in general, there's of course things like frogs and that you suddenly start hearing, and they are more active. You hear them calling. The bushveld rain frog is one of those ones that you hear quite regularly when you've had a lot of rain. And we even, surprisingly enough, in the Kalahari get a bushveld rain frog, which you wouldn't expect because they do like areas that are more wet. We even get bullfrogs here, which is quite strange. What you would think, well, why would you get frogs? So we've got about 6 different amphibian species at Tswalu, and as soon as it's rained heavily, they just start calling and calling and calling, looking for a mate to breed so that they can produce the next generation. can hear that quail again. I don't know if you can actually hear it on the mic. I think it's probably too far away. That little whoom, whoom. So Mina Moo is asking, how do porcupine quills come out? So they're relatively loosely attached or loosely held in the skin, and sometimes when a predator is chasing a porcupine, then they'll contract the muscles and then porcupine quills stand up and they try and reverse into a predator, and then the pointy end gets stuck in the predator wherever the porcupine is aimed. And when I say aimed, I don't mean that they shoot their quills. I just, when the porcupine reverses, then the sharp part of the quill will get stuck in the animal, and as the porcupine moves forward, then it's loosely attached. It will come out. But that is the idea. A porcupine quill is actually a modified hair. So we can show you here. I've got 2 porcupine quills here. So this is the sharp end, which is aimed at the attacker, and then this end is what's loosely attached into the skin. And if I show you here, you can almost see how much, if I just put my fingers, that's how much is in the skin. So it's relatively easy to come out. It's not like it's embedded that far into the skin. It's literally just that much. So if that gets reversed into a lion, then however far he can get it into a lion or a predator, then when he moves forward, it pulls out. They do also drop their quills. The quills over time do get old and brittle, that they do get dropped. But to think that is a modified hair is amazing. People would use these nice hard ones. The hard ones are generally on the back of the porcupine. They've got much softer ones on the head, and then more of the smaller ones around the base of the tail. They would use this one to make a pen. So if you ever collected a porcupine quill, or you were fortunate enough to get hold of one, you just chop, you want to keep the sharp end, you chop the blunt end off, and then you take a really, really hot steel wire and push it up the quill on the inside, and it burns like that soft, it's like a soft tissue on the inside. It comes with a warning though, it stinks, it smells like burning hair, so it's really, really smelly affair to make a pen. And then you would take a normal pen that you find in a plastic tube, and you can put that in there, and in the olden days they would use nibs and ink and put that in there, and that would then be absorbed by that soft material on the inside. Awesome, it sounds like Phinda's got some monkeys to show you. We're going to carry on, see what we can find.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda. Simon and I have managed to find these monkeys. We've followed their alarm calls from up on the ridgeline, and they're sitting in a bunch of trees at the bottom of kind of a small riverbed, and they're staring down into this very thick bush, just on the edge of the kind of the riverine thicket. But we can't quite see what it is that they're alarm calling at. I've got my binoculars up and I'm trying to get a bit of elevation to try and see what it is that they've seen, following their gaze. It's just that one for now that we can see. And up until now it was staring pretty intently down into the bush beneath the tree that it's sitting in. But it's now stopped a bit. Now, actually, just having a second thought. I don't know if you guys can see, Simon, there's some more monkeys in the tree off to the right. And not as easy to see as that one that's out in the open. But those monkeys are now no longer staring down into the bush at the base of those trees there. They're looking further out. And that one big male is really going crazy. He's shouting his lungs out. The thing is that often monkeys will continue to alarm call for quite some time after they've seen a predator. Luther, you're asking if vervet monkeys are the only monkey species that we get at Phinda. Luther, they're the only monkey species that we get reliably. There is another species of monkey that occurs near to where we are, and it's called a Simango monkey. And they typically live in coastal forests. So we're not very far from the sea. We're maybe about 25, 27 kilometers or so in a straight line from the ocean. But the habitat there is very different to here. And those Simango monkeys are only found in lush tropical forest. So we have sand forest on Phinda, which is a bit different to coastal forest or montane forest, where you'd find Simango monkeys. But there has been a Simango monkey apparently recorded here at andBeyond Phinda many years ago. But yes, Luther, they're the only species that we get reliably on the reserve. So it's now getting a bit confusing. See how the monkeys are no longer really staring as intently. They're kind of looking all over the place, and they're still alarm calling, but not looking in any particular direction. So I think whatever was here has slunk off, and that's making me think that maybe it wasn't a cheetah or a lion as originally presumed. In this very thick vegetation, these deep ravines, these drainage lines, of course the denseness of the bush, how dense the bush is, and kind of the brokenness of the terrain makes it a perfect place for an ambush predator like a leopard, an animal that likes to keep concealed and hidden. So it may have been a leopard that these monkeys saw that has now moved off. And unfortunately in this part of the reserve, we're well away from the territories of any of the leopards that are accustomed to the presence of vehicles. So even if we did find this leopard, I think it would be a very fleeting glimpse that we'd get of it. It would probably run or try to move away from us if it heard the vehicle approaching. But we're going to definitely persist here, because there has definitely been something here that has caused these monkeys distress. It would be so nice to find out what that is. So at the moment I've got my binoculars up and I'm trying to scan up onto the grassland behind us to see if I can't see. Sonia, you're asking if the monkeys will use objects when defending themselves. Sonia, I'm not sure if you mean like maybe trying to use like a stone or throw a stone at something, or use try and fashion a spear or a tool, something like that. They don't do things like that, but they will use cover, of course, to defend themselves. So they'll climb up high into a tree. If they're under attack by something like a leopard that can climb the tree, they'll go to the thinnest branches possible. They often go to the very canopy of the tree, the very crown of the tree, where the branches are very thin and can't take the weight of a bigger animal like a leopard. For something like an eagle, if they were under attack by something like a crowned eagle or a martial eagle, then they would do the opposite. They'd go maybe deeper into the canopy of the tree and use the cover of the tree, put as many branches between themselves and the eagle as possible. And so, yeah, those are pretty much the only objects, or the only way that they use objects to defend themselves. But yeah, based on these monkeys' behavior, see that big male there that's still calling. He's sitting down. Even though he's alarm calling, he's not tense. He's sitting. He's not standing up and bouncing up. And often, if there's a predator right nearby, the monkey will often stand on the branch, facing towards the predator, and he might kind of even bounce up and down a little bit on the branch with his front legs as he makes that alarm call. But having said that, though, there's a monkey on the left that is doing, it's not alarm calling, but it's standing with that same body position. So maybe that predator is still around here somewhere. Maybe it is still in this vicinity. And I'm looking very hard with my binoculars, everybody, just trying to see if I can't get a glimpse of a spotted coat moving through the bushes, or the flick of a tail, that white tail tip if it's a leopard, or a black tail tip if it's a lion that's maybe lying down here somewhere. Simon and I are going to continue to see if we can not solve this mystery though, everybody. Hopefully when you come back to us, we'll have something to show you.
It is fantastic seeing you all again. Those who haven't met me, my name is Dylan, in what is undoubtedly a very, very, very green Kalahari from what we were looking at a couple of months ago. We will be doing our very first fireside chat for WildEarth. So if you can join us on the 13th at about 7:30 after game drive, it would be an absolute pleasure. We'll see you there.
Sign up to become an explorer and join them by the fire straight after the sunset safari.
Sometimes love wants to make you sing. And sometimes love wants to make you bow and fan your wings to your bow. For the southern yellow-billed hornbill, these are signs that love is in the air. These birds are destined for a season of monogamy at least. Breeding pairs are in it for the survival of their chicks. But before love commences, the male needs to woo his valentine with food in the form of nuptial gifts.
I'm Nikki here at andBeyond in Ngala in South Africa. I love getting questions from viewers about all the small things within the environment and how it all is integrated with one another. If you want to ask me any questions, please simply register with the WildEarth website, head across to the live safari page and then post your questions there. I'm looking forward to chatting to you on my next WildEarth drive.
Hello, Mama. Just checking us out, everybody. There's no aggression here. Very relaxed. A herd of elephants moving around your car like that. It's truly, truly magical.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
Hi, I'm Kyle, and I come to you live every day here from Tswalu Kalahari in South Africa. My favorite bird has to be the social weaver. The enormous nest that they create, their survival tactics to inhabit these harsh and unforgiving environments, and as well as their complex social arrangements is truly remarkable. And the interconnectedness with the ecosystem shows us that we are too.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
Welcome back to Djuma, everybody, where the rain seems to have let off for a moment. I went and set myself up on the dam cam, and it looked like the rain passed briefly, but I feel like we're being charged. Be careful, being charged by a Swainson's spurfowl. I'm only joking, everybody. It's not charging, it's not dangerous. How are we all doing? We are hoping to remain a little bit drier, although I'm already quite wet. I'm sure the rain will be coming back. There's going to be waves of it. The problem is it was pooling. The rain was like accumulating in here. It was just getting so, a bit dangerously wet. So we went back, gave it a moment, and now out we shall go again. So the lion tracks that we were following up on the road over there, so the sounds we heard, the lions calling, seem to be coming from Simbambili, Arathusa side. So we're just going to pop across there and see if maybe we can pick up on anything. They were definitely hunting after you last saw me. The tracks are up and down. When I say up and down, it means you get some going this way, some going that way. Movement, tracks are not specifically track on the floor, like a jumping track and a left track, and that makes any sense. It's one of those terms we use. Up and down. It's not really going up and down. And it was brought to my attention yesterday by a viewer that I say the word floor all the time. I wasn't aware that I say the word floor, so I need to say ground. Ground. Sorry, I didn't actually get all of Daniel's question about prides. So I'll try and remember to use the word ground, everybody. I didn't realize he used the word floor. But I got floored in that one. Daniel, I'm sure. I mean, lions speak lion, you know, so I'm sure they know exactly who's who. When you hear your father shouting, you know him, don't you? You might not know who he is, but you also know that he's not someone you know. So, I mean, obviously you know your dad, but if I hear your dad, I'll be like, I don't know that man, but I know it's a man, and I don't know him. But if I hear a man that I know, I'll be like, that's Davisito. So I'm certain these animals know each other, and at least if they don't know each other specifically, they know that they don't know that person and or that pride, and they'll move. Talamati's moved. They went all the way back up to Buvusuk yesterday after the Unkuhumas were calling in the south, because they suddenly went, we're caught in the cookie jar, and they didn't call nothing, no response. No response. If they were defiant, they would have. But they didn't. They heard, okay, that pride gone away for the week. They're coming back to Djuma for the weekend. And off they've gone. Okay, so tracking now is going to be fun because the animals are going to leave fresh tracks. And we're going to send you over to DJ in the west, who's got...
So we've just crested over the top of one of the dunes, and there's a beautiful male gemsbok standing there. You can see male by the wideness of his horns, and just beautiful. There's another one. There's another few. Just a nice little group of gemsbok. But then, whenever you come up to the top of the dunes, we always scan with binoculars to see what else we can see. It's just so beautiful, just standing there in the sour grass. And what we have seen is a massive herd of gemsbok. They're far enough away from us that they haven't even reacted or moved or anything, but literally on the side of the hill, Morgan will go in. I counted 49 that I could see, so there are at least 50 gemsbok there on the dune, on the side of the dune, which is we always low down and you level with the bushes, so you don't necessarily see that many, but the fact that they're out on that other hill halfway up is just impressive. Ron is asking the question, do they have the longest horns out of the antelope species? I would say yes, because theirs are just straight. Some of the others, like the kudu, can have quite long horns, but they measured based on the curve. But gemsbok can have horns like 1.25 meters in length, so that's well over 3 feet. It's quite an impressive set of horns. And both the male and the female have the horns. The male's like the first one that we started with, sort of like a wide set, and then the female's longer and thinner than the males, and much closer together. But isn't that just impressive? It's such a nice sight to see that many, because just because of where they are on the other side of the dune. They'd be coming into these areas because there's a particular kind of grass that they're enjoying at the moment, and it's sort of potentially a meet and greet. You'll find that there'll be new calves being born, females will be coming into estrus, males would be interested, and that's one of the reasons for being in a herd. Very often that's a herd also in the situation for gemsbok suggests that there is an abundance of food. So there's no competition, so they can afford to be in large numbers together. and there's no competition. As soon as you have drier conditions and it's much harder for them, then they will split up into smaller groups. I'd almost say that the two on the left are males and the one on the right is a female, but at this distance, not being able to sex them is a bit challenging. Melissa's asking the question, what do the females need horns for? That would be to protect their calves when they're born. The calves are born really tiny. They're born roughly the same color of the body of the gemsbok. They're sort of light brown, and they just lie down in some of the open areas. So while the female is feeding and the calf is lying still, the calf is vulnerable to predators. In these environments, cheetah, jackal, lion, leopard, hyena. So the horns for her would be used to defend her calf against those predators. It is a sort of a trend that if animals live in large open areas, that both male and female tend to have horns. That would be, you look at wildebeest, you look at red hartebeest, you eland, gemsbok. Both males and females have horns, and then you compare them to like a kudu. The kudu female doesn't have horns, but she hides her lamb or her calf in a thicket. So generally they're relying more on the camouflage and where she's hidden it. So we're going to send you Lauren. She's got a waterbuck.
We're back out again. The rain has subsided, thank goodness. But this female waterbuck looks exactly how I feel. She's like, nope, I'm not going to waterbuck today. I don't like the weather. I'm going to stay near the water because I'm a waterbuck. And I'm just going to sit down. I'm wet. And I don't like it. A soggy waterbuck. There you have it. And that's why it becomes such a struggle to find animals on days like this, because they do sort of hide. If it's windy and wet and you're a mammal, you will feel that, just like we would feel that. So they do try to sort of just shelter themselves from the wind and maybe immerse themselves in the vegetation to sort of avoid getting too rained on. They will get wet, inevitably, but at least if they're maybe under a tree or in the thicket, they're not going to get as wet as they would if they were standing on a dam wall. You can see she's smelling. They've got an incredible sense of smell. So although she's sitting down and not doing much else, she's on high alert. All the sort of antelopes, the species that would be considered prey, are always aware that at any point something can sneak up on them. And that's why impalas still react to the vehicles. They know the vehicles are not going to hurt them. They've seen vehicles since they've been little lambs. But they've still got to react. They cannot afford to relax out here. We have a very high predator density. And although we don't see them all the time, the hyenas appear to be still snoozing, still tucked up in bed. The leopards are hiding, but still they're around. And that's why you've got to stay reactive. Although it's just a vehicle, that's why they always do still react. She's standing up. Maybe she is going to waterbuck today. That would be jolly good. She appears to be alone, which is quite unusual. Miley, not necessarily, but generally the males set up their territory around water. Water is the sort of core area, the core point of a male waterbuck's territory. And normally the females will stick together, which is why it's quite unusual to see this female on her own. There may actually be more just hiding in the thicket. And they will sort of loosely move from male to male. So they will end up near water. But as is a little bit different for the females than it is for the males, but the males are very territorial and their territory will include a water body, normally a large one, not just a little pan, but at least a dam. But they will wander, of course, so we normally find the male waterbuck that is around Gowrie Dam. We find them on quarantine. We find them sort of on Wahlberg's Nest, maybe on Philemon's Dip, so they do wander. But in terms of territory, they've got a core area of water right there. Where's your friends, lady? Now, as you've already guessed, the hyena den was not active. I didn't really expect it to be, but I tried. And we'll keep trying throughout the day. Yesterday was very, very hot, which means they probably shifted a little bit and went a little bit more nocturnal. And of course, well, this morning, stark contrast in terms of weather. But I'm still going to head to Chitwa, scratch around for Tandy and Mareebs. They might be around, they might not be, but let's try. And hopefully the rain stays off. I can't complain. No, it's not cold. And I mean, my mother's been measuring the snow in Scotland right now. She's got a little table. She gets out a tape measure and she measures the snow, and it's sitting at somewhere between 8 to 10 inches in Scotland right now. Well, at least in Edinburgh. So I can't complain. I'm not snowed in. It's just a little bit of rain. I really can't see any other water bugs. They have to be here somewhere, though. And you can see that's just the birds starting to sing. The insects are also vocalizing in their own way, and that's because it's cleared up. You won't really find a bird sitting singing in the rain. Okay, so we're going to bumble on down to Chitwa, look for our spots, and for now we're going to send you across to Steve.
Morning, everybody. Welcome to Simbambili. And if you are an arachnophobe, look away from your screen now. Got a beautiful golden orb web spider, female, in her web. And there is a male. Now, it's always nice to try count the legs of the males. Supposed to have 8, right? They're always missing 1 or 2. How many did you count there, Darby? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 legs. Now, how on earth do they lose their legs? You see, everybody, the male, a couple of males will live in the nest or the web of the female who produces the silk, and she basically catches the food. So they live off of that. Their primary objective, obviously, is to mate with her and for her to produce eggs, which then she lays in the bush again before dying and continuing the cycle. But she's a very large spider and she's very hungry. Her primary objective is to grow and grow and grow and eat as much food as she can. And so these males who live in her web every now and again incur her wrath, where she feels them moving around, and so she goes to eat them. So they need to divine or design a sort of love poem or some form of musical device that's enabled them to sing a love song for her. There she's adding something else to her junk line. So the male will sit on a part of the web and he'll strum a beautiful little tune. And then she'll come tearing across the web to try and eat him because she thinks it's food. And then he quickly drops the line and disappears again. And then again he plays the song. And again, until eventually she realizes, oh, this is a lover, not food. At which point she eventually allows them to mate. And but in the process, sometimes he gets caught a little bit. I've never seen a male golden orb spider with all 8 legs. They seem to do just fine though. There's another one up on the far right of the web. Another male. Just sort of sitting there. Let's see how many legs he's got even fewer. Anna, she's very pretty, isn't she? She's a very, very pretty spider. And that junk line that you can see she's left there of all of the insects that she's eaten, those are their carapaces and their body parts that are basically used there to sort of advertise the presence of the web, because otherwise organisms, birds, walk through the nest and will damage the web and will damage it. And that's expensive for her to recreate. It's all protein-based. It's all silk that she has to produce from her body. And so the less damage to it, the better. And it's hard to tell in this light, but the strong anchoring points of the web are beautiful golden colour, very yellowy colour. Don't see any dewdrop spiders in there. Dewdrop spiders, they look just like a little drop of water, hence the name dewdrop. The dewdrop spiders actually live in the web, and they are what we call kleptoparasites. They resemble a little, there is one at the back there. There's one just at the back, up behind her a bit. Let me go point it out. It looks like a little shiny orb of moisture. I might need to get a stick or something. Where did you go? There, it's at the back there, Davy. You see over there?
Yeah, I got him.
I got him. Okay, so the dewdrop spider, which looks like a little dewdrop, lives inside the web of this female and actually steals food. So it's a kleptoparasite. So he lives in the web, or she, and mimics water, so somehow evades her predation. Katie, I doubt she'll get blown off. I mean, if anything, the tree could get damaged and the web could break, but she wouldn't be blown off the web itself. She's got very, very good anchoring, very well designed to hold on to that web. But you've got a nice view there.
See the anchoring.
You see the anchoring now. So it's very, very strongly attached there. And as I think, who was it the other day? Mike was detailing the strength of these webs. They are incredibly strong. Torsion strength on them is incredible. I mean, even if you walk through that web and you get caught in it, you have to actually dislodge yourself from the web because it's stuck to you and it pulls the tree along with you. So if the web does get damaged, she'll just scuttle quickly off into the bush, and then she'll go through the process again. But it's coming into the late part of the season where she's probably going to become gravid, which means pregnant, and lay eggs. And then she'll lay the eggs in the bush of a tree of her choosing, probably one of these bush willows that she's anchored to, and then she will die. And then those eggs will emerge next season. So she grows incredibly fast over a short period of time. That's why the males are under such pressure to be eaten, because she just wants to eat everything that comes her way. And you probably want to know if she's venomous. Yes, she is indeed venomous. But if she did bite you, it would basically just give you the equivalent of a headache. It wouldn't be much more than that. No, as far as I'm aware, once the mating's done and she eats them or doesn't eat them, their life cycle's pretty much the same. I don't think they'll live longer than her. Once her web is done and once she's finished doing what she's doing, both their lives come to an end. I don't know exactly who decides to switch off first, but they're quite dependent, those males, on her for the food that she provides in her web. Beautiful, beautiful web. It is very windy. Okay, well, we're going to move on. Let the wind blow us down the road, see if we can find any tracks or sounds. I'm not able to get hold of anybody on the radio this side, so we're going to have to do all the work ourselves. But it sounds like the lions are just over there. They might be a little bit too south for us. They might be on Arethusa. But we shall endure.
Imagine having your own secluded African bush home where you and your friends can enjoy the ultimate safari experience. If you sign up to be a WildEarth explorer, this could become a reality. Tumbeta House is located in the heart of Djuma Private Game Reserve, the home of WildEarth. You could win a chance to stay at this intimate wilderness retreat, offering you the rare and highly sought-after privilege of your own home in the bush. The prize includes 3 nights for 6 people and includes daily game drives, a chance to see the WildEarth camp, and have dinner with one of our guides. Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer before the end of February 2021, and you could be heading to Djuma, the place that we call home. Available dates are limited, so terms and conditions apply.
Riverbeds are a great way to find water, and look for places where elephant have excavated hollows. You can then dig into the sand, and after a couple of feet you should find damp sand, which then can be squeezed out or siphoned off for water. And with water being one of our scarcest resources, it is a good idea to conserve water where and how you can.
My name is Ross and I'm a field guide at andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on WildEarth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
Something very, very interesting. I didn't plan this, but this is a scene rarely seen. This is what we call a journey of giraffe. So beautiful.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
We've made it to Chitwa Dam, and you most likely will be able to hear the waterfall. This croc was actually chilling right at the edge of the water, and obviously our vehicle, he started swimming off, and that's how we spotted him. He's a big one. Could be a female. Crocodiles are very, very difficult. Unless you see them mating, it's not worth assuming the sexes until you can get a good look at the genitalia. But this is definitely an adult. Now, crocodiles obviously have a bad reputation. People are scared of them, and they do pull animals in the water from the water's edge. But they're also remarkable. Their biology, their evolution, how they survive. No matter if you dislike them or like them, you've really got to appreciate them. And I mean, male and females, they both have internal sex organs, and that's why it's so difficult. It's not obvious because it's internal. It's very difficult to just tell them apart from sort of external morphological features, if you like. And there will be slight differences in physical appearance, but generally speaking, it's not easy. And just like hippos, we do find them in the water during the day, but they're primarily nocturnal. They don't do much during the day. I didn't catch that name, but generally speaking, no. I mean, at Chitwa Dam, it's the same crocodiles that we do see around the dam day in, day out, because the dam doesn't really ever empty of water. It's a really large water body, and they don't need to go elsewhere, really. This is their water body. But of course, in drought conditions, some dams may completely empty, and that would be a cause of concern. So they will walk, but what you've got to remember is they're reptiles, and therefore, at really low environmental temperatures, their metabolitic rate is going to be depressed. Whereas the likes of humans, birds, mammals, endothermic animals is going to be elevated. So they're going to struggle. They're not going to have much energy. On a hot day, yes, but on a cold day like today, it's going to be a big struggle to just walk to another water body. And when you actually compare them, a bird or a mammal can actually have a metabolic rate 100 times over a reptile on a cold day, and that's due to just the fact ectotherm versus endotherm. And what this really means is that you won't find reptiles migrating, and I know you're not asking about migrating, but they really can't. They can't sustain that. They can't make journeys. I think the only exception, or the only reptile that really comes close to a possible migration, is possibly the leatherback turtle, and that's obviously in the ocean, so it's slightly different, and it does travel thousands and thousands of kilometers per year. But generally speaking, reptiles don't migrate. They don't move great distances. But if it has to move to another water body, then of course it will. They can walk on land. It takes up a lot of their energy though, but they have got very sharp claws for traction on land, and they would just have to find another water point. But they won't move great distances because they can't. Annie, you're asking for the comparison. The Nile crocodile, I believe alligators are slightly larger. And there's sort of immediate differences that you can see if you're not sure what you're looking at. And the first one is really the snout shape. So when you look at a alligator, they have very wide snouts, almost like a U-shaped, if that makes sense. And then when you look at crocodiles, their snouts are quite sharp and pointy at the end, like you can see here, and it's more V-shaped. So that's one difference that you can go on. And secondly, wow, they've got a toothy grin, really. So when their jaws are shut, crocodiles always look like they've got this, sly, sneaky, toothy grin. And that's because you can see their teeth. Their sort of jaws, their teeth on the lower jaw actually stick out. Whereas in alligators, that won't happen. When they close their jaws, there'll be no sneaky, sly, toothy grin. All their teeth are covered. So those are two main differences, but I do believe alligators are larger than crocodiles. It's staying remarkably still. It's probably not very deep at that part of the dam. Just touched on this, but I would imagine it's just, oh no, it's swimming now. I'm changing my answer, it's moving now. But I think it was just balancing on its hind legs there. I don't think it's very deep, so I think it was just floating. You can control your buoyancy, even as a human, to make yourself float. So it was probably just doing that. Its hind feet was most likely touching the ground, and it was at an angle and it was just floating. But now it's obviously gone for a little swim. It's bored of listening to me. But we can also control our buoyancy just by breathing. It takes a lot of practice, but generally speaking across the board, and I'm speaking very generally here, females are more buoyant than males, and that's just because we have a higher fat percentage. Now, I understand everyone comes in different shapes and sizes, but across the board, generally, females hold more fat. I definitely do. And I float very easily. When I was doing my lifeguard training, we did lots of crazy exercises, including hypothermia training, and one of them was to float for hours without moving. easy. I just lay there, enjoyed the sun. But for a lot of the males, they find that difficult because they don't have as much fat and therefore they don't naturally float. So they have to constantly tread water to keep themselves up. So depending on whether you're a male or a female human, you can control your buoyancy during respiration, but it's going to be different depending on your body fat percentage. Now, we do have a fish eagle up here. I wonder if we can get it. Can we get it from here, Impo? Nope, it's decided to fly off. So we won't be getting it from here. But we do have some impala on the dam wall looking a little bit nervous. A bachelor herd. 5 males. Do you guys know where Tandy is? They're thinking, we don't like that Tandy. But she was definitely here last night somewhere, so we're just trying to think which area around Chitwa is going to provide most shelter, because I think that's exactly where Tandy would be. Unless she's on a kill, of course. Tandy's spending most of her time on Chitwa with Mareebs.
Looking for food in person.
Lucy, you're asking about the crocodiles. And crocodiles are predominantly, they eat fish. They're fishermen. That makes up the bulk of their diet. We just don't see it because it happens in the water body. But generally speaking, crocodiles mostly eat fish. They are primarily nocturnal. So you won't really see, they're very slow on land. They're reptiles. They're not specially adapted to walking on land. They can, but it's really not their strong point. They're strongest in the water. So that's why you will see a crocodile lying in wait, and they're very opportunistic. So of course, if an impala does come to the water's edge, or even the likes of a cheetah, which was incredibly sad, that footage at Phinda, they will take any opportunity to ambush that animal that came to the water's edge. They'll slowly swim using very small movements of their tail and launch themselves out of the water. But you won't see them hunting on land. No, they're not equipped for that. They're too slow. And of course, an impala would see them coming and absolutely run for it, and it wouldn't be able to keep up with an impala. Okay, impala, I think we're going to need to ask you to move off the road so we can get past. Are they as windy? Prey species do not like the wind. You're not going to move for me, are you? Look at them, they're all looking different ways. So that, oh, the Egyptian geese have got little chicks. Would you look at that? Can you get them from here, Impo? The rain roof does not make life easy. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 little chicks, I think. How sweet. Oh no, there's more than 4. Lauren needs glasses. There's 6. Oh, that's very, very sweet. I just love how they really don't look very much like the adults. I mean, they're striking looking chicks, but they don't look much like the adults. Excuse the rain roof pole. There's not much we can do about that. Although they don't have a very high survival rate, the Egyptian goose parents, they try very hard to look after their young. Okay, we're going to continue our bumble of Chitwa. Maybe we get lucky, but for now we're going to send you across to Deirdre.
ground beetle, luckily maybe it's because it's a little bit cooler that it's actually slightly slower, because if it is much hotter, these insects move quickly. They're very difficult to get on camera because they're so fast that you don't even get a chance to focus on them. So that ground beetle at least is a little bit slow. He is alive. I have seen him move. So before anyone thinks that we're trying to pull a fast one and he's not moving, he is very much alive. So the ground beetle's got sort of like a little yellow stripe on the abdomen, and then some of them have 2 bright yellow spots. When insects have got those bright yellow colors, they're trying to tell something that they are poisonous to eat. And these ground beetles will actually exude a liquid that also has like a blistering agent that is not pleasant to animals. So most things tend to leave them alone, but they've also got some serious jaws on them, and they will eat other insects. So I don't know if you can see the jaws, but quite serious set. Cleo is asking, are they bigger than crickets? Yes, they're probably about 1.5 inches in length. Some of them can be even bigger than that. So if you take sort of the entire body section or just the abdomen section of this insect is probably about 1 inch in length. So about 5 or a few more centimeters around about there. So they can get quite big. There are some that are even bigger than this one, and they do also or can give a nasty bite as well. Well, that's nice that he's turned around for us so you can see that sort of warning stripe of yellow. We go from him to, you can see where my shadow is there. There's a little armored ground cricket going a little bit further back on the edge of that. Yeah, there he is. So we have an abundance of these, the armored ground crickets, and it just depends on the stage of what they are as to what coloration. So that one's still quite young. It's still growing, hasn't matured yet. It's not a very big one. Oh, his climbing skills are not that great. So he's probably that armored ground cricket is roughly the same size as the ground beetle, but normal little cricket's much smaller than this ground beetle. There was also, I'm just going to see. Oh, I actually can see. I'm going to probably get out and point it, which means my ground beetle's probably going to run away. Yep, there we go. But I've got a very interesting. I see. Hopefully they don't go away. On this one here, Morgan, I'm going to just make it stop. 2 beautiful shield beetles. Look at those. We had some yesterday, but there's 2. Excuse my finger in the shot, but there we go. So, sometimes called jewel bugs or a metallic shield bug. Very pretty, amazing colors. So those would also suggest to predators that they're not worth eating. There's another one, another critter over here. Oh, sorry, nearly slingshot those right off. Oh, no, he jumped away from me. So I'm trying to show you the elegant grasshopper. Maybe he can hop one more time. There, I don't know if you can get that one. There we go. Nice. There. Oh, and he hopped again. So, oh, no, he hopped again and he landed on an armored ground cricket, which, not ideal. The little armored ground cricket's got sort of spikes on the top of the shoulders. Not nice to land on, but that was an elegant grasshopper, if you did get a glimpse of that. But he's now decided to put himself in the leaves there, which is difficult to see. It's a beautiful little patch of devil's thorns. I didn't get the question there. I just got Lana. Lana is asking about critters. Lots of little critters. There's even some, I don't know if we can go, if this is too close for you, Morgan, but there's a nice blister beetle on that one. Would the meerkats feed on all of them? So probably the ground beetle they'd leave alone because that would exude a fluid that would make them taste unpalatable. Certainly the armoured ground cricket is top choice out of what was here. The elegant grasshopper, also with that coloration, is saying, you can't eat me, I'm also toxic, with that aposematic coloration. And then this little one here, this one here, Morgan, is too close. Okay. Too close to the vehicle, so therefore not available for the camera. But that would be, that's a blister beetle that I had there on the flower. But the blister beetle is definitely also not chosen by the meerkats. So out of all the little critters we've just seen, the poor little armoured ground cricket is the one that has to run the fastest, or hop. And meerkats also spend quite a lot of time digging, so they'll be digging for beetles, grubs, worms. Carissa is asking what poisonous beetles we have at Tswalu. So this is a poisonous beetle, this blister beetle. That is a poisonous beetle. It secretes a liquid known as cantharidin. I'm just trying to see if I can find, Morgan, another one for the camera, because every one of the ones that does have beetles on them are too close to the vehicle. So they're like a little, they're quite nondescript. They're sort of just like a grey, slender bug. But they land on there, and then you sort of brush it off, and it secretes that liquid, and it blisters immediately. And then the netwing beetle is another one with the bright orange and black. You've got to be careful of those. Oh, this one's too far for the... That one's way too far, I think. He's sitting in the flower. I can hold him still. Can you see him? He might be a little bit too far for the camera to zoom in closely, but that's an orange and black blister beetle there. So he's also got that warning, that aposematic warning coloration. I didn't think so. We have to almost be on foot with the camera so that Morgan's got the flexibility to move. So let's move on and see what else we can find. We'll drive through the dunes a bit. Every time we've come up and over a dune street, we've scanned up and down and seen some things. We saw some eland earlier, but unfortunately eland, as soon as they hear a vehicle, they trot off. That's just in their nature, so never long enough to get them on camera. You almost have to get them when they're far enough away. So we're just driving through. These are all blackthorns. Consulting detective has asked the question, but I didn't hear the full question. Are there any mantid species on Tswalu, as in praying mantises? Yes, there are. But I think Morgan can get this one. Here's a mating pair of elegant grasshoppers that are not moving at this stage, so we'll show you that. And you can see big size difference between the male and the female there. So now we're getting a good look at an elegant grasshopper. Beautiful little orange eyes, red on the wing. So once they'd finished mating, and now that the soil is quite nice and soft, she'd be able to dig in the soil to deposit the eggs in the soil, and then they'll go through the time frame till the next season and emerge from there. How many colors can you see on this elegant grasshopper? I can see black, orange, green, yellow, red. There's even a, you only see it when the wind is moving it, but there's a spider here. I don't even know if the camera's going to be able to focus on that. That's literally just off the elegant grasshoppers. There's a spider here. I'm going to put my radio aerial in line so that, there we go. You got it. I'm probably going to have to go. Beautiful. That looks like one of the lynx spiders. That in size is probably about 3-4 millimeters. Just really pretty. So that spun a web between the two branches of the three thorn, and it's a full sort of proper spider web shape. Also just waiting for insects to fly through. So much smaller than a garden orb web spider, but the web looks very similar. Might actually be even eating something at the moment, but it's so tiny. It's bigger in the zoom on the camera than it is in real life. Randy's answer is he sees 3 colors in those elegant grasshoppers. But all those colors are basically warning colors. So he's saying they're poisonous, don't eat them. Casey says she sees 6. It's almost like a lilac-breasted roller. You never know until you just keep looking and looking and looking. And there's just so many. But it just their main predator would be birds, and birds see in color. So that would be why having a multitude of colors, a real splash of colors, tells them, don't eat me. We're going to send you across to Lauren, who's got something to show you.
We've came across a herd of elephants, but the visual's not very good. Let us move forward. Let's see if we can reposition and pull. Excuse me, everyone, the rain's picked up again, so I do have a towel on my head in case you can't notice. I don't want to get wet. On top of having a swollen face, I don't want to make it worse, so this is a new safari gear. They're going into the thickets. They're also hiding from the rain. You should try it, everyone. You should try the towel look. It's a goodie. It's very functional. Let's see if we can just turn this corner and see if we can pick them up. They're all huddled under this tree here. I can't see them. not going to be the best visuals, but let's try. Oh dear, that's awful. Let me try and go back. There we go, that's better. Hello guys. They probably relish the rain a little bit. Must feel very good on their extremely dry skin. But I can imagine no organism out here enjoys it. Really, really heavy downpours. Although it's not hot, they're not flapping their ears, they're not trying to cool down. The skin probably does enjoy raindrops. This is really not the best views of elephants we've ever had, but unfortunately, I think it's all we'll be able to get for you this morning, but we'll make it work. Miley, I don't know, I can't see. I would imagine grass, but I can only see what you can see, so I think they're pulling up the grass here, but I don't actually know. We're just looking at them through a very small window in the vegetation. But I would imagine it's grass. They do graze, they browse, they pick up marulas. They also debark trees for that cambium layer. But I would guess it's the grass. Oh, no, this one's browsing. Their diet's so varied right now. You can see the ear hole. Do you see that there? It's not often we actually get a chance to see the ear hole, if you like. We, of course, see the big ear. Yeah. But yes, their diet's so varied right now. They can graze grass, browse lots of different leaves on the trees, pick up fruits, debark trees. Really, elephants are... What just happened there? They're all running. Wow. I really don't know what happened there. Okay, we're going to drive it very carefully because my vision is obviously limited by the vegetation, and if there's upset elephants there, you do not want to get in any trouble. So let's just bumble really slowly. I don't know what happened. There was no vocalization, so it doesn't make me think there's a predator in the area. But they all ran. Okay, I can see them through there. I'm not sure we'll get another gap to view them, but we shall try. Can you work with this, Simple? And of course, elephants are quite reactive. As soon as one reacts, they will all react. So I don't quite know what happened there. You can see that very sharp angle on the female's forehead. So immediately, if you have the view that I have right now, you don't know if it's a lone bull, you don't know if there's others because you can't see. You can only see this individual. You know it's a female. The male forehead is not as sharp or angular as the females.
It is fantastic seeing you all again. Those who haven't met me, my name is Dylan, in what is undoubtedly a very, very, very green Kalahari from what we were looking at a couple of months ago. We will be doing our very first fireside chat for WildEarth. So if you can join us on the 13th at about 7:30 after game drive, it would be an absolute pleasure. We'll see you there.
Sign up to become an explorer and join them by the fire straight after the Sunset Safari.
So in 1998, we had this idea to go and put a live web camera on a waterhole somewhere in the Sabi sands next to the Kruger National Park. And I approached just about every single landowner and everybody thought I was completely crazy until I met Yuri and Pippa Moorman.
We thought it was definitely a fun idea and a worthwhile thing to experiment.
And it immediately became a runaway success. And it gave people all around the world the opportunity to watch a little piece of Africa day and night. Back in 1998, it was the very early stages of the internet. And all we were able to do was to get a 30-second refreshing JPEG out of that camera. But over time, what we began to do is focus more and more on trying to develop this concept of giving people the opportunity to go on safari.
Even though we live just 500 meters up this hill, we still put the camera on to see what's happening.
Absolutely, we watch it ourselves.
My name is Taylor McCurdy and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on WildEarth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the live safari page and submit your questions below the live feed.
This is a battle of two great carnivores of the African wilderness. Whew. Whoa! You don't want to be under those jaws. Definitely, this round goes to the lion. Look at that. Fantastic.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth.
Hello everybody. We've got some hyenas very busy sniffing around. We've just reversed about 200 meters. Don't know what it is that they can smell. I can't see anything on the ground. Don't know who these fellows are. Who are you? Hmm?
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda. We had to leave the area where those monkeys were alarm calling due to a sudden rain squall that descended upon us. Of course, the rain is always welcome, but it doesn't go very well with the camera, of course. And then sorry about that, that little bit of technical difficulty there, apparently with Djuma. Of course, coming to you live from the African bush has got its challenges, and I suppose all part of the fun. Anyway, we've moved away from the open plains to come back into the mountains, and it seems like we can't keep away from the zebras this morning. There's a little group of zebra that we found grazing in this clearing, as well as a giraffe browsing on what looks like a black monkey thorn. Two of them, actually. The second one just popped his head up, or popped her head up, but that one there in the middle, or rather off to the right, look at those big robust horns with the bald tops. So a sub-adult male. I say sub-adult because just looking at his body size, he doesn't look like he's yet fully grown. Also has quite a light coat. Look at how pale his body is. It's almost like an ashy color. Of course, color not always an indication of age in giraffes, but very often with males, especially when they start to get a bit older, they often go a very dark kind of marmite or bovril color. And then that female off to the left of him. They're both very busily browsing. And it looks like they've both started feeding now on a grove of young red ivory trees. Those very bright green leaves. I don't know if any of you have ever felt a red ivory The leaves of a red ivory, they've got the most wonderful, soft, silky smooth leaves. You can just imagine for a giraffe, they must be delicious. Nice and soft on the teeth as well. Veronica, who's 9 years old, you're asking why a collective or a group of giraffes is called a journey. And Veronica, to be honest with you, I think that a lot of these collective nouns that people give to animals are just to be creative or based on an observation that someone's had. And often, Veronica, when giraffes move in a group, it's quite an impressive sight to see giraffes moving in a big group, and I'm sure that whoever coined that phrase was maybe in East Africa, in the open savannas of the Masai Mara or the Serengeti, and there it's not uncommon to see big groups of giraffe all walking together across a vast open plain, and they maybe have to move quite a big distance across the open grassland to get from one grove of trees to the next, obviously to find enough food. And so maybe to the observers who coined that phrase, who made up that collective noun for a giraffe, for a group of giraffes, maybe to them it looked like the giraffes were going on a big journey across the open plains. It is quite a, I suppose, got quite a ring to it though, a journey of giraffe. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of some of the collective nouns that get given to animals. I think a herd of giraffe does just fine as well. Craig, you're asking why they are called sub-adults as opposed to young adults. I suppose young adult works too. Sub-adult is just the more scientific term given to an animal that's not quite a juvenile anymore, but not quite an adult yet, so almost an adult. Yeah, young adult, I suppose, is the term that we'd use for humans, hey? Sub-adult just being the more scientific term. Ooh, there's the most beautiful bird calls going on at the moment, everybody. I'm going to keep quiet for a second, just to see if we can't hear. So there's quite a couple of interesting birds calling, and there's one in particular that I would really like to point out to you. I'm just going to wait for it to call again. There's the usual kind of chirping of crickets and calling of a rattling cisticola. There's a high-pitched beep, 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 coming from a Phinda rain frog. But there was a bird called an eastern nicator that was calling. And it's a bird that we're very lucky that we see quite regularly here at andBeyond Phinda. It's not a bird that is very easily seen for the most part because of its habit of living in pretty thick, dense vegetation. And it's by no means endemic to the area around Phinda. It's not endemic to the Maputoland coastal plain, but it's a bird that you have a pretty good chance of seeing if you come here. And it makes kind of it's quite a difficult call to imitate. It makes quite a few different sounds, but the one that I was hearing was kind of a jumbled warble with almost like clicks added to it. And just as those giraffe disappear, I'd like to show you a picture of what the eastern nicator looks like. So I've got my bird book open here. They are quite an attractive bird. So here it is here, the eastern nicator. See that very kind of olivey green back and tail, and then these beautiful yellow spots along the wings there. And it used to be called a yellow spotted nicator. So that's where obviously the name came from those spots. It's got a quite a pointed bill with a hook on the end. And obviously that hooked bill designed for catching insects. You'll see here that it's depicted following an Ngala around. And it's something we see quite often here at andBeyond Phinda in the sand forests and in the woodlands, is these eastern nicators following antelope around. Because as the antelope move, they disturb little insects sitting in the grass or in the bushes, and the nicator will then fly down and pick them off. I've also once seen a nicator actually sitting on an Ngala and kind of hopping around its neck region, looking presumably for ticks. Yeah, a very pretty bird that will be quite a challenge to put on camera. Harold, you're asking which eastern region they're from. Well, Harold, here's a picture in the book. I'll show you their distribution here in Southern Africa. So, eastern nicator found in the eastern half of South Africa. So, we're down. In South Africa, it's not found in very many places. Obviously, on the map here, the darker the green, the more common it is in that area. So relatively common here in the northern part of the province we find ourselves in, KwaZulu-Natal, or Maputo land, that's where we are at the moment. Also pretty common further north in Mozambique. Its range does extend a little bit into the north of the Kruger National Park, but far more common in the coastal regions. So yeah, the eastern part of South Africa, Mozambique, obviously the easternmost country in Southern Africa. And then even extending up along the Zambezi River and into the northern parts of Zimbabwe. Hence the name. But it seems like those giraffe have come back out again. They're starting to feed on those red ivories again. Now both male and female feeding on the red ivory. It's earlier that male seemed to snub the red ivory a little bit. He was feeding first on the black monkey thorn and then moved across to the red ivory. I've never actually eaten a red ivory leaf. They've got the most delicious fruit. Unfortunately, they've stopped fruiting now. Before I get too carried away with that though, Indigo Girl, you're saying that the giraffe is very pale. It is, Indigo Girl. In fact, both of these giraffes are quite pale, both quite light in colour. But especially that younger male on the left, his whole body is basically like an ashy colour. At least with this female that's closer to us, the one that's now looking at us. At least her neck is a bit darker. She almost has like a transition from grey to a more caramel kind of colour on her shoulders and on her neck. And then her back in her saddle there, I don't know if you can see if you can see, there's like a bit of a darker chocolatey brown colour on her back. And like I said, with giraffe, especially with males, how dark they are, their coloration is often an indication of the amount of testosterone in their bodies or their age often. And it's also very much a genetic thing. You'll find female giraffes that are very pale. You'll find some that are a bit darker, some that are even quite a bit dark. And that's all just a function of their genetics. But it seems like they've now switched. The male started feeding on that black monkey thorn, and now the female has gone to the monkey thorn while the male has gone back to the red ivory. So I was saying about the red ivories, unfortunately the season seems to be over now, but the start of summer, those red ivory trees grow the most delicious little red berries that literally taste like a mixed fruit jam. They are unbelievably sweet, unbelievably tasty. You can't believe that such a fruit exists out in the wild and hasn't been genetically modified. They are very, very, very tasty. They're very small, so you've got to eat lots of them to get any kind of satisfaction from it. But I think that's something that I have to try and do one day, is to try and make a red ivory jam. It'll take quite a bit of work because of how small those fruits are and how many fruits you'd have to collect, but I think it would be absolutely delicious. And then those leaves also, I imagine if I was a herbivore, if I was a browser, those leaves I think would be a plant that I'd love to feed on. And it's a seasonal bounty that those red ivory leaves that these giraffes will only be able to make use of during the summer months, because come winter time, as a deciduous tree, they'll lose their leaves. I love how this female giraffe keeps having a glance back at us. Look at her chewing. Oh, and there's a European roller. Did you see that flash of blue that just darted across the screen there? A European roller that just landed in the tree there behind the giraffe. Oh, there it goes. Coming back to its perch up in that tree there. Just see the flash of blue. And see how it's perched up there. Also, it's also a red ivory tree that it's perched up in there. And it's scanning the ground, looking for any signs of insects. Alright, it's been wonderful spending a bit of time with this pair of giraffe, and nice to see that European roller. I think we're going to leave them for now though. Apparently Lauren has found a herd of some sort on the move. Let's go and see what kind of herd.
Sadly, they've already moved. Running across the open area at Chitwa. Really running. I don't quite know what's unsettling them so much. It could just be the weather. It's starting to rain again, I'm afraid. I always find the elephants running slightly entertaining. Let's try and see if we can go forward a little bit. This is a path, but we won't be able to get too close, but let's see if we can get a better view. I love seeing herds walking together, especially across an open area where you can get perfect views. Oh, rain, rain, go away. Come back another day. Let me know when you get a good visual info. Yeah, okay, there we go. Let's see if we can work with this. I don't want to go any further on this path. Oh my goodness, that's terrible. Okay. Let me know when. Okay. They're right at the water's edge. And of course, no one's swimming, not on a day like today. They will drink, but there will definitely be no pool parties. Game Drive radio. You always find it so peaceful when you find elephants, especially next to water. It's a beautiful combination, elephants and water. Now, when you're an endotherm like an elephant, not like a crocodile, it's actually harder for them to lose heat due to their body shape than it is for them to retain heat, if that makes sense. By constantly eating, which is exactly what they do, they're bulk feeders, and it's all about quantity over quality. Eat, because they don't have such a great digestive system. It's not very efficient. That in itself is helping them maintain their body heat. They're the same as us. They're mammals. Their body temperature, core temperature, is constantly maintained through metabolism. And therefore, on a cold day like today, I'm not going to lie, it's very cold, they're able to maintain their body temperature. They're able to retain heat. And of course, by walking and staying mobile, just like us when it's really, really cold, I definitely know what it feels like to be really cold coming from Scotland. Sometimes you just need to jump up and down and do maybe 10 star jumps and jog on the spot. And automatically you warm up because your muscles are generating heat. So it's actually easier for elephants to sort of stay warmer, if you like, on cooler days than it is for them to cool down. It's trickier for them to cool down. They don't really have sweat glands. And that's why when it's very, very hot, they obviously, there's a little one running here, and boy, you're about to see it, full speed. It's coming. Whee! So yeah, that's why when it's too hot, they obviously have specialized adaptations to cool down. Because of their large surface area to volume ratio, it's not easy for them to cool down. Oh my goodness. I'm not sure if you can hear that, but there's a lot of vocalizations. There's also a plane in the background as well. You may be able to hear that.
Welcome back, everybody, to Simbambili, where we've got the Shumungwe lioness with her cub moving through the grass here. The youngsters are a little bit more shy.
See the cub?
It's on the other side of that car there. It's probably going to come along the road there in a moment. Now, we had their tracks not far away just now. We were trying to find them. And we weren't getting any signal, so we moved out. And then our friend Justin called us back. And he found her pretty much where we'd been looking. Justin's from Simbambili. There's the cub. Look how big it's gotten. It's never seen our roof before, everybody, so it's a little bit jumpy. Yes, tackle mum. Tackle mum. How beautiful, eh? How beautiful. And it's a little girl, everybody, so soon she'll join the pride. Oh, bless you. Soon she'll join mum as a huntress. As mum's done very well so far to keep these two alive and fed. Now, Shumungwe is the Shanga name for the Bateleur eagle. Always the first one to find a kill. And we're blessed that we've managed to find a little spot here where we can show her to you. I've shown it to you a couple of times. Once when the cub was really small and I actually thought it was one of the Nkuhuma cubs. But once again, our wide community of viewers was able to inform me that it was not. She's beautiful though, isn't she? Strong, fit lioness. was also looking at our roof, going, what is that thing? Shape is very different, trying to see if we smell any different. Behind us, where she's sniffing, we tried to show you some zebras a little while ago. And I think they're now picking up on the zebra smell. Zebras and impalas over there. Chris, they are doing really well, aren't they? I like them too. Cub's always very playful. I'm almost certain she's going to go on the termite mound behind us. What do you think, Darby? I reckon. Let me just move slightly. Up she goes. Look at that, eh? Not often you get to see a lioness on top of a termite mound. Okay, well, we're going to stay here with this pair of lions, and we're going to send you over to Lauren, who's enjoying some elephants.
We've managed to stay with the Ellies, and this youngster here just on the left is, well, not happy. Lots of trumpeting and running around and ears up, and the adults are just clearly ignoring it. It's not a serious threat, it's just, gee, look at this, what is going on? They can easily get spooked by something, and the youngsters are generally speaking full of beans. Now, everyone, there's something I do want to touch base with you all on, and this is a difficult topic, but we want to let you know that here at WildEarth we are very aware of the stories about the male leopard that is believed to be Hukamuri. And trust me, our hearts are so heavy. We could not be any more devastated by what's happening. We understand it's gone on to social media, slightly inappropriately so through the wrong channels, but from our side at WildEarth, we care a lot more than you realise, and we're just waiting for the official information from the correct people. It must come through the correct channels. It can't come through any other channels. So I can assure you, as soon as we have it, we will touch base. But we are just as sad as you all are, and we just wanted to let you know we're not ignoring it. We just have to wait till we have the correct information. It was more difficult than I thought. I've got a lump in my throat. It's not easy, everyone, but we're all in this together, and we all care very deeply. Social media is a great tool, but it can also work against you. So I promise you will be updated. But on a brighter note, if you're an elephant, Chitwa really is the place to be this morning. We've got extremely lucky with this herd. I can see tracks for Tandy going into the riverbed, and sadly we can't follow the riverbed. The Mulwanini is still very much waterlogged. Well, we could probably get in, but we'd never get out. Look at this elephant having a scratch. Oh, I love it when they do that. Having such dry skin, you know, you really have to rely on the trees to give yourself a good old scratch, and termite mounds. Okay, talking of termite mounds, I believe Steve has a lion on top of one.
We do. We've actually got a pair of lions on top of this termite mound. The Shimungwe female and her cub, scoping out the terrain, looking for some food, I would say. Although the cub looks like it's got some food in its belly. The belly was looking a little bit rounded. But they're in these conditions, everybody, predators always take advantage. Very windy conditions. Opportunity. That's very cool. The wind makes it very hard for animals to detect the presence of the predators. And being high on a termite mound, they're going to try to spot some prey. And as I said, direction they're looking in, there was some zebra earlier. They've probably moved down a bit. But once they detect something, we might see them move. I don't expect this youngster to play too much of a role in the hunting, but definitely its role in the feeding. I'm not sure dreaming. Probably about 11 months. I'll have to find out. Justin, do you know how old is it, Mum Pipa? 8-9 months. 8 to 9 months, eh? Okay. So 8-9 months, Justin tells me. I remember seeing it when I got back in, was it June or July? Somewhere around there. I saw a little youngster. And I actually thought it was an Nkuhuma cub. But it's still too young to actively take part in the hunting. But it's big. Beautiful scenes. Nice, ominous grey sky. Beautiful grass, stamens, inflorescence blowing in the wind. First time we actually found these two were on a termite mound. I've only seen lions in the Sabi sands on termite mounds probably a handful of times. Leopards all the time. But in saying that, there's only so many places on Djuma that there's termite mounds of this size. There's a few of them. But here on Simbabili, there's plenty of these large termite mounds on these open areas. Very, very granitic, sandy soils. High up on the crests. Bufusuk doesn't seem to have many at all. I think it's all different fungus-growing termites. I think it's the small fungus-growing termites up there. I haven't seen a large termite mound up on the north, and that's a lot to do with the geology, a lot to do with the soil underfoot, and also the termite species, of course. This is a termite mound of a large fungus-growing termite.
Hi, I'm Sue. I'm from South Africa and I'm the incredibly lucky winner of the Tswalu competition. Tswalu has so much to offer, but we're really looking forward to the game viewing options, as going out with a personal guide who has so much knowledge will just be exceptional. Motsi Lodge looks absolutely amazing and we're so looking forward to spending time there. It really is out of this world. I only registered as an explorer towards the end of January, so when the email arrived stating that I was the winner, it took me totally by surprise. I'd just like to thank WildEarth and Tswalu for this most incredible prize. It really is a dream come true.
WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
The reason why we see that wildebeest by himself is because he's a male, or a bull, as we typically would call him. And what he does is that he marks and defends an area. Essentially, he is looking for the ultimate piece of land or prime property. Needs to have good grazing, needs to have a water source close by. And not too far away from here, there's a sickle bush thicket that would provide just enough shelter from the wind and the rain.
My name is Lauren and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
Looks like it's a very difficult climb because every time it tries to climb, the ground is breaking, so it slides down. But it's the only one. Look at that. That is a call of desperation with a cub. It's like, what are you doing, mommy? Oops. Oof.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda. You won't believe what we've just found. We could see some dark-capped bulbuls alarm calling and mobbing, or you could hear them alarm calling, and we saw them mobbing something. Bunch of European rollers joined in. And now there's even this Cape starling that's joined in the fray too. Up on that dead log is a young Southern African python that's sitting up on that dead stick, basking in the sun. And listen to the birds, they're going crazy. Listen to the European rollers. Here comes a roller. Did you see it flash past the python there? So all of these birds are busy mobbing the snake. There's a whole flock of starlings that have flown in, all to come have a look at it. They're just watching it. It's interesting that they're not really doing much about it. They're kind of just staring at it. Unity, you're commenting on how well camouflaged the snake is to that dead branch. Unity, I'm embarrassed to say that we sat here for about 5 minutes trying to see, because we could see the birds alarm calling, or hear the birds alarm calling and see them mobbing. And so we surmised that there must be a snake somewhere there. And I was peering through my binoculars, looking into the sticks there at the bottom of that tree. And it took me about 5 minutes to realize, oh, hang on, there's a python right out in the open, right on top of the stump there. So yes, incredibly well camouflaged. And that's why that snake is sitting so still there. It's hoping that its camouflage is going to keep it safe. There's no doubt that these birds have obviously seen it. Look at that roller hovering around it. Interesting that the starlings have all been confident enough to actually perch on the tree above the snake. And I mean, to my mind, that's within striking distance of that python. Rather just wanting to bask in the sun and try and warm up, rather than try and grab one of those birds. Also, of course, birds are unbelievably fast. They've got insane reflexes, and they'll be able to escape more than likely if that snake does turn around. I don't think the snake will be able to move fast enough to grab one of those starlings. It also looks like it's not quite big enough to try and catch one of these starlings. It might be a little bit too big of a prey item, one of those starlings. It's quite a bold move though on the snake's part to be so exposed. If a bird of prey like a snake eagle were to fly over, then it would be very easily spotted and probably become food. But that's obviously a risk that the snake is willing to take and see. Steve?
Beautiful scenes. Simbambili open area. It's definitely looking in the direction of the zebra that I spoke about before. Now, a lioness is capable of taking down a zebra, but because it's only a lioness with a cub, she doesn't really need that amount of meat. So there is a risk involved in taking a zebra on your own. So I wonder what prey animals she seems to focus on. Probably impala, kudu. Problem is, with her being on her own with a youngster, she really is at risk of losing whatever she kills to hyenas. Hyenas do embolden themselves against a single lioness. Vanish into the grass. Hypersensitive at the moment. Eyes and ears and nostrils are hyper on taking in everything. Alice, they don't have a pride, it's just the two of them. I think she used to be 2. They had 4. There were 4 cubs, only 3 of them have disappeared. So it's just her and her daughter. So they are a pride, all on their own. Where exactly they came from, I'm not certain. They're just eking out an existence here in between the territories of other lions. And they seem to be doing all right. But they wouldn't compete. If other lions arrived, they would move. If other lions called, they would move. And just keep buffering themselves by moving, protecting her youngster. And this daughter will join her ranks, and then once again, she will probably mate, have some more cubs. And this daughter will have cubs, and then slowly but surely the pride grows again. So it only takes one female to meet a male. The males aren't too particular. They'll find a female in estrus, they'll mate with them. They're not too concerned with the female being able to hold the territory or not. He's not thinking about that at all. Lockdown, baby. Heather reckons this young one looks fierce. Well, Heather looks like a young lion to me. Looks very cute, actually. Only child. Gets whatever it wants. It's probably quite spoilt by mum. Doesn't have to fight at the dinner table. No scratches on the nose. We'll have to learn lion etiquette at some point. I'm sure mum's trying to show her. Instinctively they know feeding time is a competitive time, but she's yet to see that. I doubt mum's too aggressive with her. There's always aggression at feeding time, but if they kill an impala, there's more than enough for the two of them. Up until a point when it starts getting divided and the smaller bits, and slowly but surely this one's getting bigger and bigger. Okay, she's probably going to go down the other side or just plump herself down next to mum. Mum's not looking towards the impala anymore. She's going, mum, but they're over there. Can't we go that way? It'd be nice to see if they did hunt, how exactly it played out. I'm sure this youngster would just hang out at the back. Okay, we're going to stay with this pair, see what they get up to, and send you over to the west of Deirdre, see what her plans are.
heading in the other direction through the dunes now. We're sort of heading in a easterly direction, just bumbling over the dunes, but it is quite something to see. I'm just going to stop here because it's easier for the camera. But as we've been driving all these mole rats, all the little sort of mounds of sand, as soon as we've had some rains, the mole rats go on a mass colony expansion, and you find these little clumps of soil in nice little tubes that have been pushed out of the ground, and the mole rats making new tunnels. They've actually got quite a large area. They've got a couple of 100 square meters, and they work on a caste system, which is quite strange. Little mole rats have an alpha male, alpha female, and then a caste type of society. This is the Damara mole rat. It's a sort of a black and white mole rat. I haven't seen a live version yet. The last one I saw was being eaten by a jackal with Safari Live, and the mole must have been moving on the surface early and the jackal heard it. But if we go forward, there's actually, right here, I think there's a ground agama maybe laying eggs in the thing. The second one, Morgan, is that a ground agama? Yes, there's a ground agama. It might well be using that loose soil to actually lay some eggs. Normally they dash across the road so quickly you don't even get them, but might also just be waiting for the sun. We're all waiting for the sun. And it is a nice open area to see if there's any insects. The mole rats, having disturbed all the soil, might push out some insects, but also he's got a nice angle there to get some sun on his back. So they do have eyes, the same as a chameleon, that they're conical shaped and they can look sort of forwards and backwards and up and down and independently. So Jabu is asking, are there eggs in the hole? So the female will actually dig with her back feet, probably about 10 centimeters underneath in the surface of the soil before she deposits the eggs. This looks like a male, so I don't think that there's egg deposited. I think, oh, there comes the sun. So getting a little bit more sun. I think it's also dead still because it thinks we haven't seen it. So if it moves, it gives itself away. But if we carry on driving, then he thinks, it worked really well that he stood dead still. Harvey is asking the question, how deep can mole rats dig? More than 1 meter at least, and then all those tunnels will be connected. So each one of those soil mounds will be like a tube running underneath there, that there will be some connection in between those. So if you sort of connect the dots and connect the molehills, there would be a tunnel underneath there, and they've pushed that soil out. They don't need to dig to very, very deep, but at least 30 centimeters underneath the ground, then the temperature starts maintaining consistency. Then it's a nicer, warmer temperature all year round. The closer they are to the surface, then the hotter they would be. The further down, the slightly cooler they would be. And the mole rats are coming out at night to feed on the sort of roots and tubers and bulbs. They can also find the bulbs underneath the ground and feed from underneath the surface. So they're called fossorial. And fossorial means living under the ground. So most mole rats are blind. These particular mole rats do have eyes that they can see, but other mole rats can be blind and don't really come out above the ground. They're sometimes even naked as well. But this Damara mole rat has got eyes that they use to see and forage above the surface at night. And they've almost got The mole rat's got a unique adaptation in that their front teeth almost go through their front lip. So when they are digging using their teeth, they close their mouth and their lips keep the sand out of their mouth. Let's carry on heading that way. Actually, sorry, Morgan. There's the female. That was the male. Just hang on 1 second. We'll frame up for you. Morgan's just got to turn the camera around. Sorry, it's a bit of a surprise slam on brakes, but there at the base of the tree there, Morgan, you can catch maybe the male's posturing and the female's there. You can actually see sometimes. So there's one male, one female. The male will be the one with a nice bright blue head. So then that quite likely could have been the female. The female is the one on the bottom right. Darcy Ann's asking how large can ground agamas get? So probably about just over 20 centimeters, that's head to tail. It's very interesting to see. There's they giving each other the eyeball there. It's not often that you get interactions with ground agama, that you get to see them, because it was just sheer fluke that as I glanced over the shoulder, I saw that one run into the other one and saw the other one move. And luckily they're close enough, and they're so busy with themselves that they're not really worried about us being here. They almost look prehistoric. They almost look like more dinosaur-like, the ground agama. So typical sort of a how apologies about that, everyone. I believe Deirdre has lost her voice, but she will be back again shortly, I'm sure. The challenges of live broadcasting from the wild. Now, we've came back to sort of the heart of Djuma. The rains, look at that up ahead. Let's see if Paul can give you a little view of the horizon, shall we say. Look all the way over to Buffelshoek, Manguleti side, and it does not look very pleasant. I have heard there's sort of a second wave of bad weather coming for us after this sort of after effects of the cyclone. I've heard there's more coming. But there's no challenge our tech team cannot get through. It's drizzling. We're not dry, that's for sure, but lucky it's not heavy. So we're just staying a little bit closer to home and see if we can pick up on any movement. I have not seen one single leopard track on quarantine since coming back. Not one. And it's amazing how you can go through periods of finding leopards all over quarantine every day for a period of time, and they just sort of shift their movements. Everything is constantly shifting out here. And by everything, I mean territories, movements, patterns, routines. And it's natural for animals to adjust to seasonal patterns as well. So the changes in season will bring on changes in movements. Changes in movements will bring on shifts in territories. Territories are not static. They're not static at all. And we like to think of them, well, my brain anyway, always sort of puts a box. And then I have to say, no, Lauren, no box. Humans are very good at putting things into boxes. And it's more like a sort of wavy odor fence that will sort of move and change depending on a whole number of factors. Season
seasonal changes, competitions, threats, pressure, resources. So many things will affect an animal's territorial movements. And of course, if an animal, let's just say, for example, this is Tlalamba's territorial route. It's not, I'm just saying for an example. And this is the road Wilberg's Nest that she always uses and she always scent mark. So it'll have her chemical code all up and down this road. So any other leopard who smells will know Tlalamba's code. It's almost, imagine it like a barcode with all those lines and all those numbers. Every animal has a barcode, but in terms of scent, in terms of their chemicals. But if Tlalamba doesn't come here for, let's just say, 4 weeks, she's busy in Buffelshoek doing lots of other things, the odour will evaporate, and therefore this road really will not have her scent, and therefore it becomes open to anyone. So maybe another leopard will come in and use this road, which means she has to shift or push. So it's constantly always changing. But anyway, we're going to just scratch around here, see what else we can find. I'm going to send you guys back across to Steve and his lions.
Good morning again, everybody. Back with our lions on Simbambili. Morning. Incredible, the camouflage, isn't it? That beautiful flowing grass. It's kind of evolved long before the lion was even an organism. Grasses are some of the oldest plants we have. And so an animal would have evolved to hide in it at one point and then change color to match it and then change shape. Even the termite mound itself with that little chimney at the top looks just like a lion's head, or vice versa. Tandy, I highly doubt a leopard would just materialise on this termite mound. They might come walking, but if they got too close, the lioness would definitely try and attack it. So it would be interesting to see what would happen, but confrontation between big cats is real and can often lead to severe injury, especially for the smaller of the two. But leopards have also got very keen eyesight, so we would probably notice something was on top of the termite mound before getting here. But also leopards would be walking into the wind, so to be walking from downwind of these lions, they would have smelt them long ago and would have been very vigilant about it, very alert and very vigilant to its approach, or would move out of the area entirely. I've definitely seen more leopards on termite mounds than I have lions. And bearing in mind the leopards are doing it for views, for prey, but as well as for predators. They are under threat from lion. They're very aware of lion's approach. But with this wonderful tree just next to this termite mound, it would be a very easy escape for a leopard. Might look a bit awkward being up there, but it's a far easier climb for a leopard up to that tree than a lion would be. Far lighter, so able to get much higher. We actually had this lioness in a tree on our way through, following her before. Quite a nice view. You don't often see lions in trees, so whenever you do it, it's always a magical sighting. It's all about elevation, all about having a look through the long grass. Bear in mind, lions are a lot shorter than we are, and we're struggling to see. Carly, yes, this cub is under threat of a male lion. So that's why she would move away from anything, any male, any female, any calling, she would just avoid and move away. So it's a male lion that encounters her and the cub very likely could kill it. I hope that's not the case, but she's being very vigilant and moving. Give it another 6 months or so, the cub will be out of that sort of, out of that bracket. So she'll be very aware of where the males are. The males are calling all the time, scent marking all the time, and she'll just be bouncing between, avoiding them entirely. Okay, we're going to move off from our lions and slowly make our way home.
It is fantastic seeing you all again. Those who haven't met me, my name is Dylan, in what is undoubtedly a very, very, very green Kalahari from what we were looking at a couple of months ago. We will be doing our very first fireside chat for WildEarth. So if you can join us on the 13th at about 7:30 after game drive, it would be an absolute pleasure. We'll see you there.
Sign up to become an explorer and join them by the fire straight after the sunset safari.
Our bodies are made up of about 60% water, which means that in a very short space of time, you can dehydrate completely. A relatively efficient way of collecting water early in the morning is to take an absorbent material like a sock and to walk through the grass, absorbing the condensed dewdrops on the grass. Once the material is saturated, you can then squeeze it out into a container, or you can suck it out directly into your mouth.
My name is Steve, and one of my favorite things at WildEarth is getting questions from you. The type of questions that I really like are those ones that really help us to unpack and understand and really integrate the ecological knowledge and fully appreciate the importance that animals such as these Cape buffalo bring to the ecosystem. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, you're going to have to register on the website. But once registered, just head on over to the live safari page and enter your question under the live feed.
Okay, there's another big male coming in from our left here. Another big male, look at this. This is the one now you're going to see sparks fly, guys. Guys, it doesn't get better than this, eh? Yes, unbelievable. Africa, I love you, eh?
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
My favorite animal is a leopard, purely because I just think they are just the epitome of feline grace and power, and the way they can move about in any environment and remain hidden until they want to be seen, I just find incredibly intoxicating, and they're amazingly beautiful.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
We've been around quarantine, and unfortunately we saw a ground scraper thrush. It didn't stay for very long though. It was a fantastically beautiful bird. I'll try and see if we can put it on camera again this afternoon. Beautiful bird, big distribution. They're not only found in South Africa. There's quite a lot of them up in Ethiopia as well. The beautiful, beautiful birds. And hopefully this weather will of course clear up by this afternoon. And hopefully it will stay dry and pleasant to be driving in. But the good thing about the rain is once the rain subsides, you will find that the predators, at least, they do need to re-scent mark. So going back to that topic of territories, they'll need to come and re-scent mark. Water will wash scent away. It will wash urine away. It'll wash sort of feces away, sebaceous glands markings away. It really will wash everything away, and therefore they will need to come out and start re-scent marking once again. And that's a good thing. Are you looking forward to breakfast, Dimple? Liam, me too. Me too. I have a firm favourite, but I don't want to influence any of the results. So I'm keeping it a secret, but I have a very, very firm favourite. And hopefully the den will be active. If it's not, that's okay. We're still going to announce the name for little Junebug. And I'm sure many of us will still call her Junebug. That'll be her little nickname, and that's completely fine. But she will have an official name, as many of us do. Many of us have names and nicknames. I get called Lolo or Laws. I'm sure they could get more creative, but Lolo or Laws. And of course my name is Lauren. So that's what we'll do. We'll have an official name for her, but we can still call her Junebug, a little term of endearment. But I'm very excited too, Liam. I imagine they will be out this afternoon. I do feel they will be out. And of course, if it's not too hot, that actually means they might be out earlier. So I'll stay in the area and just get to spend some time with them. I do feel sad when I don't get my dame time, I must say. It should be a daily occurrence, but we checked twice today. We checked at the very start on our way to Chitwa, and then we checked on the way back up again just mere 15 minutes ago. And it's definitely not active, so they must be snoozing inside, which is exactly what I would do if I was a hyena cub. I would be tucked up inside that den, preferably with a blanket and a pillow, but you know, they can't have everything. And hopefully maybe we'll start to get lucky with our leopards. I know that Tandy and Mareebs are around, so maybe if it clears up a little bit, we will be able to search around again for them. They do need the ground to start drying up at some point. It's very, very waterlogged still in many areas. But it has came to that time of day, I'm afraid, everyone, where we go and get our breakfast. And you can all go and get breakfast too, but it's the end of the drive. So thank you everyone for jumping on board. It's always a pleasure to have you. Please do join us this afternoon and have a great day. Bye for now.